Hello and welcome to Aura Talks. My name is Leandra. I'm a human design specialist and I work in the holistic health field. And if you want to work with me, you can check all the links down below. So in this video, we're going to talk about human design and Gen Z. And that has been a topic that has been on my mind for a long time already now. And now is the day where I'm recording the video about it. And I just want to mention in the beginning, this is nothing that comes from the original language transmitter from Ra Uru Hu, because he passed quite a while ago and was not able to do these observations. So this topic and these observations come from my own personal viewpoint and from my own personal conclusions. And I've recorded already a video, and you can find the link up here, where it's all about the shifts and changes that are gonna happen in the year 2027. Because we're about to end a huge cycle of hundreds of years, which has a certain background frequency, and we're entering into a new era, which has an absolute completely different background frequency. And therefore, we as humanity are also going through a huge shift, a huge change. And I guess all of us can feel that. And it kind of started a little bit with the pandemic in 2020 when it started. And since then, a lot of things have shifted and changed. And we can already see that we're moving into something else. And when we look at Gen Z, it's very interesting because we can already see in them a lot of qualities, a lot of aspects that is going to be something that is awaiting us for the future for all of us. And they're already embodying it, at least partially. And that's why I want to do a little comparison of the transmission of Ra Uru Hu, what is going to happen in the future, and what we can see in Gen Z, and how these two are actually blending very well together, and what's going to expect us therefore in the upcoming decades. So when we look at Gen Z, what is making Gen Z so special is that, first of all, they're the first generation that grew up only with social media already, or technology, basically from childhood on, because they were born between 1995 approximately and ranging to 2010. So digital communication, a very fast-paced exchange of pictures, photos, videos, media, news, etc. is very, very normal for them. So they're very home in the digital era and in the digital field. The other thing that makes Gen Z very special is that they're really following their passion and their purpose, which is not necessarily connected to putting in long work hours or putting in wanting to have a 9-to-5 job. They really want to do their own thing, maybe having entrepreneurial goals from very early on, already founding something, doing a startup, etc. So really they want to follow their own passion and create a healthy work-life balance, instead of the generations before, where it was really about just find any job, stick with it as long as you can, and make a lot of money and a lot of status out of that. So that's the next thing with Gen Z. It's not so much about the status anymore that you perceive through work. It is more about having fun, having good experiences, spending a good time, being with good people, making your own mission or vision basically come true, less than achieving a certain amount of money on your bank account or having a certain status that comes along with that. And the next thing about Gen Z is what makes them special is that they're very much in touch with their emotion, generally speaking, or much more than all the generations before that. And also everyone is more in touch with, therefore, their feminine side. Mental awareness, therapy has become in the forefront, or is not something that people are ashamed of anymore to talk about. Men embracing their femininity, painting their nails, wearing skirts or dresses, etc., has become something that is quite common in Gen Z. So really embracing the feminine binary of the spectrum. And therefore also being more concerned with topics of gender, of sexuality, of equality, of rights for minorities. So the awareness of the differences in us, and everything being a spectrum, less than just being masculine or feminine, but that there's a spectrum in between, is something that we also see very, very commonly in the Generation Z. So now let's have a look at how this correlates actually to the prediction of Ra Uru Hu, which he already made many, many decades ago, because before Gen Z was even there. So even more so very interesting to observe. So what we're seeing when we're entering into 2027 is that it's not gonna be anymore about the work and the status and just work hard for all your life, but we're entering in the era of individuality, where the fulfillment and the satisfaction of your own individual wants and needs is gonna be in the forefront. So really acting from your sacral energy, your workforce energy, bringing that into the world, bringing that into action. So basically exactly what Gen Z is doing, right? Following your own passion and bringing that to fruition. Really following your own dreams, not the dreams of your tribe, not the dreams of the collective, but your own dreams and your own passion and your own inspiration in a very fast manner, bringing that into action, bringing that into manifestation. Which could also result into a little bit of an impatient, very fast pace, which we also see that they're the most fast paced of every generation that we've seen so far, because they're so used to TikTok, Instagram, all social media, fast communication, right? So we really see this kind of impatience, that drivenness in the Gen Z. That we also see in the energies that is going to expect us after 2027, and that we're already feeling right now. So a day can be a signpost for us or an inspiration for us to already follow now what you are meant to do here, what you're meant to bring into this world. Because when you do that, as a generator specifically, you will feel so much satisfaction and so much passion doing so. And for me, as you can probably imagine, it's you talking about human design, and I feel so much passion, so much satisfaction for that, and therefore it's that what I follow. And we're all here to find whatever is lighting us up and really bringing that into life. Not necessarily thinking about, oh, will that bring me the money? Will that bring me the status right now? Because if you can let go of that, that is the result that is going to come anyways. But coming back to really what are you here to, what gives you the satisfaction, what gives you fulfillment, and bringing that into life, less than thinking you need to work in this 9 till 5 or whatever. And we see so many people right now also let go of their jobs where they're not feeling alignment anymore and say, I need something different. I want to fulfill myself. I want to fulfill my mission. So Gen Z is already doing that, and therefore we see that they're the leaders basically to guide us into the new era. And the next thing that we talked about or saw was that they're much more in touch with their emotional side. So we're actually going through a major transformation also about the solar plexus, and the solar plexus is responsible for emotions. That means that the way that we perceive emotion and the way that we have emotional awareness is gonna change, and it's gonna be much more in the forefront. We develop an emotional awareness, and Gen Z is already much more in touch with that aspect of us. And through bringing emotional themes to the forefront, being in touch with their emotion, learning about them, not being afraid of diving into them. And also, this is the feminine spectrum, whereas the spleen is the masculine binary, the solar plexus is the feminine binary. And therefore getting more in touch, becoming more aware of the feminine aspect in them. And that is what is showing up with Gen Z already, and what also much more other people now can slowly start to feel, that there is this femininity also that enters into the world, a female style maybe of leading a business, or much more an intuitive driven way of making decisions, maybe also in business. Or people in general not being so afraid anymore to embrace that feminine aspect about themselves, specifically men who in the past, as I see it, have been very scared of that feminine emotional side of them. And we see that more and more people are getting there now, which comes very, very natural already to Gen Z, because they're the ones making the building the bridge basically to that new era. And the other thing is the way that we lead relationship, or that we see gender or sexuality or relationship in general, is also going to change. And we already see it in the metropolitan areas that it is changing, that it's not only about contracts anymore, like we need to marry man and woman, having a child, but the way that we see relationship or that we see gender and sexuality has really opened up in a huge spectrum. There's if you sign up to a dating app, you see all these like agender, pangender, demisexual, whatever, all these different terms that people now identify themselves with. So huge spectrum of everything, right? Where you have room to explore yourself also individually about your individuality, and through that connecting with other people, and therefore having a much wider sense of what it means to be you in terms of all aspects of you, and also in the way that you relate yourself with others. And what I see very commonly with Gen Z is that they do also not want to commit to that one partner anymore, but maybe having open relationship, being poly, or also defining themselves as queer, whatever. We see that very, very commonly. So also here we can see that we are much more following our own freedom and our own passions and our own individuality when it comes to the topic of relating with each other. Whereas in the past, the relationship style was much more built on contracts, agreements like marriage, and much more connected to the tribe and keeping the tribe safe. Where now it is all about us and wanting to explore us in relationship, and also wanting to find spiritual, meaningful connections when we are relating with someone. And I think that really started in the pandemic, when we suddenly started to cut out people of our life because we just simply couldn't meet them anymore, where we didn't really feel a strong connection, and therefore looking for much more meaningful connections, or building much more deep connections that have a spiritual component to that. And this is something that we also see much more now popping up, and me specifically working with human design and the holistic health field, I see that much more people now are interested in the topic of spirituality, becoming open to that, and specifically younger people. When you go to a crystal shop, it's full of Gen Z people, and also on TikTok, where you can see a lot of young people reporting about astrology or human design, whatever. So we can see that also here, where we can really see that younger people, the Gen Z, is very interested in finding their own spirituality, finding their meaning. And that also partly, I guess, will come because the world seems very unstable and insecure, and it's all about their own survival. So people look for something deeper than just a surface, something that gives meaning or that explains the purpose behind things, and therefore looking much more into spiritual tools or modalities and becoming much more connected with themselves. And as a result of that, I feel that, for example, alcohol use or drug abuse is becoming much less. A lot of people in Gen Z are not really interested anymore in getting wasted, getting drunk all the time, because they have found much more of a deeper meaning to their life and feel much more connected, and therefore also making much more aligned and healthy lifestyle choices. Which will gonna be really important, because we see that also institutions like the health system or also like the educational system are already crumbling and are gonna crumble more, potentially gonna break away or fall apart. Therefore, the responsibility to keeping yourself healthy, mentally speaking and physically speaking, and educated, is gonna be in the hand of the individual. Same as counts for money. And we can already see these trends coming with cryptocurrency, where the responsibility of the money is not outsourced, but it's in your own hands. And the same with education, where we have the possibility or the opportunity now to educate ourselves through the internet in every moment, or through all kinds of different sources, for example, like YouTube. And therefore much more a democratic system of educating ourselves. But also it's in your hand what you're looking out for, who is your source, who do you trust, etc. And everyone can also produce content and share their wisdom and knowledge at any time and post it throughout different social media platforms. So we see that everything will go back also in the hand of the individual, which gives us immense power, but also obviously a lot of responsibility. But again, it comes back to a very individualistic driven society, which these are all aspects that Gen Z is already doing, educating themselves much more on their own terms, less than actually really getting their education from maybe a school teacher, or at least the school system as it is right now. And we're going to see that more and more. And therefore, also people don't really want to go to university anymore in Gen Z, and they are much more self-educated and really doing their own thing already from a very, very early age on. So we can see that a lot of shifts and changes are already happening right now, which are gonna be much more in the development. And another one I almost forgot was that we're much more globally thinking. So instead of, again, not so much connected to the tribe, you're identifying yourself with a nation or with your family, etc. You're gonna be much more, or everyone is gonna be much more identified on a global level, meaning that the boundaries or borders are not gonna exist, at least in the mind, where we can, for example, connect with someone through social media who lives on the other side of the world, but maybe has a similar interest or personality than we have. So less again about the boundaries, the borders, and the contracts and agreements of your country or of your religion or whatever, much more broader spectrum, connecting with people who are sharing the same values, who are sharing the same mission with you. And that's again something we already see in Gen Z. It's interesting because I'm officially not Gen Z. I'm still just a millennial, but I can identify much more with Gen Z and actually feel very much like that. And it resonated always very deeply with me, everything that I just said. And that is due to the reason that some people individually hold a lot of energy that is gonna come in the next time era, which, for example, is myself as well, but do not hold much of the activations that come from the past age, which I do not have. So therefore, I feel much more connected to Gen Z, and I feel much more connected to the future times that we are just entering into. Whereas someone who holds a lot of individual energy within them, or like energy within them individually, speaking like that, who is more connected to the older times, they might have a little bit more of a difficult transformation into the new era and maybe want to cling on to the old times and do not want to have the change. And that's also what we're seeing right now. And that's what we're seeing obviously in Gen Z, but also in the older generations, that it can be individually a little bit different. However, we will not be able to change the course of time and the developments that are going to happen. So the more we surrender into that, and the more we also see Gen Z as already the pioneers of that and learn from them, the easier and the better it will be. And yeah, I'm super curious. What's your take on that? Are you from Gen Z, and does that resonate with what I just said? And if you want to know more about your individual energy and how that aligns with the new time, but also with the old time, get in touch for a reading. I'm more than happy to do so. And yeah, I'm sending you so much love, and bye for now.